Hey there, welcome to the September 11th, 2025 episode of the Coffee Solo audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo. We are recording this at 6:22 p.m. on Thursday, September 11th, 2025. And I should add, at 6:22 p.m. Pacific time, if you add 7, you get 1:22 a.m. September 12th, according to UTC, Coordinated Universal Time, if that means anything to anyone. I'm going to try to be more careful about the time zone, just so that if anybody listening is curious what time I actually record the shows. 6:22 p.m. Pacific time, 1:22 a.m., 01:22, September 12, UTC. September 2025, 09:12, 01:23, UTC. Something like that. That's pretty close to a standard time format, which I cannot remember the ISO, but there you go. That makes this episode 2025-09-1101. The title of today's episode, I have prepared a lot of notes because I've just been tired and I didn't want to have to stammer through. I do need to get better at that, though. I need to have terse notes and expound upon them in real time to practice with my spontaneity. But today, what a day. What a day. If you've been paying attention, or if you're listening to this in the future, you may look back on the 10th, this whole week actually, and you may think, how the hell did we make it through? So this episode of Coffee Solo, the summary, which I've written, I've written a lot of this already, so total chaos, but maybe opportunity, ? We can wait for tomorrow to ponder that. Today has been a day, maybe a week. The links I'm continuing to rejigger, adjust. So if you see the links on the Ko-fi.com website, they are slightly different because this audio program is now available through Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Amazon Podcasts. There's an RSS feed, and that gets sucked up by YouTube. So now the Coffee Solo audio program is available in these various places, but it's available first on the Ko-fi.com platform, ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts. That's where the name came from, Coffee Solo with a K and an F-I. But so the link section will be different, and I don't know if I'm going to continue reading the links. I will say the profile page linking everything used to be called Buy Dan a Coffee. It's at buymeacoffee.com/danhugo. So it's got everything. Links to the YouTube channels and the Spotify profiles with all the other links and the home pages. The Buy Me an Update audio program is published on Mondays, 5 minutes or less, a quick rundown of the previous week's audio programs. This program is not included. It's only my regularly scheduled programs. Coffee Solo on Spotify for creators. You may see that link. Buy Me an Update on Spotify for creators. But I will say, do I have this down there? Oh yeah, I do. So the Coffee Solo programs will be linked from a sort of a primary point of publication. The RSS and the audio files themselves are still hosted on Spotify or Ko-fi.com, but the homepage, if you will, for Coffee Solo is my own vanity domain, danhugo.com. So ideally, as I continue to work on that, or say that I'm going to continue to work on that, you'll always be able to find all this stuff there. I have been using the buymeacoffee.com/danhugo profile page as a sort of it's always there. It's been there for years. I keep it current as far as links to what I'm working on and various audio programs and whatnot. That will probably continue to be the case, but there are websites for my main productions. And so I want to make sure that I kind of own my presence on the internet. These are weird times. May as well avoid getting locked out or whatever. So danhugo.com. There's also, so that's for the two, Coffee Solo and Buy Me an Update and whatever else ends up there. And then Quaggling Sand, FFS Talk, Cafe Genius, they all have their own websites. And of course, Innovate for Vegas has had its own websites for some time now. So on that note, the outline for today, it looks kind of long. We'll see. So today is the 24th anniversary of what we have come to know as 9/11. a catastrophic unraveling of so many things before the actual day of 9/11 on 2001, on this day in 2001, and for every day after, right up until today, and for the foreseeable future. I remember quite clearly waking up. I had just moved to Phoenix, Arizona. I think I finished my move maybe 2 weeks prior. I started moving in June. I was finishing up a project for Leapfrog Toys when I was finally all wrapped up and ready to hit the road. I think I rented a little SUV, and I threw the last of my stuff. I had been staying with my a former roommate in their house. They had a spare bedroom, so I was staying with them with the last of my stuff. Threw it in the vehicle, drove to Phoenix to live full time in my new place for about 4 years. It was a rental. I rented a place. So yeah, I remember waking up, and I can't remember what time I was waking up. I was somehow I ended up listening to Howard Stern giving the state of affairs, kind of live reporting some stuff there in New York when he was still on terrestrial radio. And I was like, what's going on? And basically that was way too much time spent watching all this stuff on TV for months. Broke out the photo album for my trip to New York in 1995 with a different roommate from college, which include we spent almost a whole day. Battery Park had been closed because the government was shut down. If anybody remembers Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton getting into a little argument. So a substantial part of one day when we're like, I guess we can't. The Battery Park was open. It was the getting over to the island, Ellis Island, Liberty Island, not Ellis Island. Well, any. What is it called? What is the Statue of Liberty Island called? Statue of Liberty Island. Since we never did get there, Statue of Liberty is on Liberty Island. Yeah, okay. So we couldn't go to anything because everything was all closed because they're federal. So we just said, maybe we should just go check out the World Trade Center. We walked to the World Trade Center, got some tickets, took the big escalator up to get to the elevators, to get to the roof, or what is it called? The window on the world, I think it was, the restaurant. And we ended up just spending all day. We got there before lunch and we were there until well after dark. It was pretty good. Some really good pictures. Some pictures did not come out. We actually were on the roof now and then. They let us up on the roof to take photos. And of course we had pocket cameras that there was no way you were going to get enough light. So they were mostly dark. Some crappy shots, but it was an experience. I can say I was there. So yeah, another anniversary of a very strange time. It's weird to think that there are people graduating from college right now that have no memory of this whatsoever. They were born after, and even when they were very young, there would have been a scant mention that made any sense. And then of course it was no longer a big dramatic, topic of discussion as it was for the first year or 2 or 3. They probably knew about the Iraq War and the Afghanistan presence, which only ended recently. But anyway, that's quite a time. So then yesterday, and again, so on the 10th, September 10th, in this time zone, or in the mountain time zone, really, it is fair to call it an assassination. Charlie Kirk. I really don't know Charlie Kirk, or I didn't know him. I didn't really follow him. I wasn't really up on his ideology or his messaging. I understand he was pretty far to the right, and the things I did hear about him I thought were a little iffy. I don't think I would have agreed with a lot of his viewpoints, but I understand he was always up for a debate. So I guess that's something. The word assassination gets some controversy, like, that's only for, there's a Chris Rock joke that I think it was Biggie got assassinated, or Tupac. It's Biggie or Tupac, well, both. The president gets assassinated, Biggie got shot, I believe is the quote. I'm doing my best Chris Rock there. But common usage, maybe it has evolved, but common usage is assassination is for political figures or leaders, national figures, celebrities, anyone of note. So assassination applies to a lot more people than probably one might have thought. Quibbling over a term is a distraction, but then the whole unfortunate thing has been full of that. all manner of distractions and blame and finger pointing. There is, as I'm speaking right now, it's now at 6:33 p.m. Pacific time, 01:33 UTC, September 12th. There is no, there's no one in custody. They have photos that they're circulating, so we'll see if they actually catch someone. But there's already accusations. It's once again, it's they. They are always trying to kill us. They are always they are resorted to assassination. The radical left, and it's troubling. But whatever. What things are going to unfold as they're going to unfold. I am not a fan myself, and I am not on the radical left. I actually, I think I've mentioned this before. I've taken a political ideology test that places you on the. It's not on a. Is it a spectrum? There's a two-dimensional graph that it's like liberal, conservative, and authoritarian, libertarian, and the axes can vary, so it depends on which test you take and whatnot. I took the test, and when you average those, for me, I'm in the center, right? So there are some issues that I would be more to the left. There are some I'd be more to the right. Occasionally I'm on the libertarian side. Occasionally I'm on the authoritarian side. That's the vertical. So generally speaking, I average out in the middle, but it depends on what it is. So I personally think it's a bad idea to blame an entire chunk of the population. And it's disingenuous. It is hypocritical. The rhetoric that is flying around now around this, I think, is problematic. But personally, I'm just keeping my head down. I have a lot of stuff to do that is not this, and I don't want to get drawn into anything. And with reference to the 9/11 daily TV coverage and commentary, and it was the topic for everybody all the time. It was a grand unifying event, of course, but the conspiracy theories and whatnot, it just consumed way too much mental energy and so on. So this is like internalized chaos. It's domestic, but what the generic you could spend every waking and some sleeping hours being concerned about these things, and I am not really down with that. But the left is getting this false blame scenario. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, I guess. It's plenty of interesting times ahead. So, okay, now we can get on to more casual things. Where is the T? The letter T. So I'm listening to this book. I have an audio book, and it's the, what's her name? Helen, is it Helen Cow? What's the encryption book? The book about OpenAI. Empire of AI, Dreams and Nightmares in Sam Altman's World or whatever. Karen, wow, is it K, How, not Cow. Karen, I think it's How, H-A-O. So it came out at the beginning of the summer. I'm just getting to it now. It's been interesting. So it's an audiobook. It's read by the author. I get audiobooks read by the author because I believe, maybe I hope, that the author will have enough insight, kind of the what was in my head when I was writing this part of the book, right? So they'll add some intonation, they'll emphasize things in a different way, they'll kind of send a message in the way that they're speaking. They might speed up a little bit. They might, there'll be some sort of signaling, and I find it interesting. Now, I will say one of the most interesting author-read books is Anthony Bourdain reading his book, Kitchen Confidential. I thought his follow-on book, Medium Rare, was not as good. I think the book was not as good. It was he was too confident, if that makes sense. But Kitchen Confidential, read by Anthony Bourdain, I think it's really good. I've listened to it many times, and in fact, I think he sounds much better at like 1.2x. If you listen to him at 1x, he sounds kind of depressed, obviously. But yeah, I usually listen about 1.2. It sounds good. I'm not in a rush. I don't need to go like 2x or anything. I think 1.2 is anyway. So I'm listening to Karen How. I may be mispronouncing that. I don't remember if she says her name. So she's reading the book, and this is not a comment on her, but this is a comment on general. This has been in audiobooks. I'm hearing it in podcasts, if it's audio or video, like YouTube videos and whatnot. People are not saying both T's in words like written and forgotten. So they are saying things like written and forgotten and similar. I don't know where this is coming from. A long time ago, when I used to listen to the No Agenda podcast with Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak, I kind of got annoyed with, Adam Curry was kind of being a dick about the vaccine stuff. And I do mean a Richard, keeping it clean. But he was just being a little outlandish. And I exchanged a tweet or two with him. And I was like, hey, you should check out this Vincent Racaniello. And he was like, oh, he's just a shill for the thing. And I was like, okay. So I thought he was kind of getting a little flying off the handle. And I just kind of got annoyed because it was basically what he was saying was, I'm going to promote conspiracy theories without even trying to listen to someone with a real viewpoint that's explicitly apolitical and so on. I think the problem was that Vincent Racaniello actually liked Tony Fauci. That was not a comment on all of the surrounding things. He just had a professional appreciation for Anthony Fauci. And that was the undoing. So I'm like, Adam Curry. What is Adam Curry? He's the podfather. Okay, good. Congratulations. We have podcasting now. Adam Curry and Steve Jobs on stage demonstrating, downloading and listening to and whatnot. The iPod is not really a thing anymore. I personally am a fan of changing the name to something other than podcasting. I usually say audio program. Okay, I digress. He and John C. Dvorak actually pointed this out many years ago. We'll call it at least 5 years ago. So I'm late to this observation. But it's when they were jumping in on the vocal fry thing that a lot of people do, where I don't know if I'm going to be able to demonstrate vocal fry. And it's usually found in women who drop the register of their voice. They drop it down an octave or two, and that makes their voice, their pharynx, makes their vocal cords in your pharynx vibrate. So you get this vocal fry. And guys do it too, but not as often. So they were commenting on that at the time. And I remember them pointing out, have you ever noticed now that there's this big thing with written, forgotten, and there are other words, obviously, that I'm hearing it all the time now. What is going on? I'm not a perfect speaker. Everybody knows that by now. I'm not by any means. But it seems enunciation of the double T words has changed, or is changing. And again, they pointed this out 5+ years ago, but the fact is, why are we hearing this now? And there's a lot there. Maybe it's just a trend, like, oh, I'm hearing written, so I'm going to say written. And again, there are other examples. It's kind of like, I totally lost what I was going to say, but I have noted here, do you know the word succinct? That is the correct way to say that word, succinct, succinct. Wait a minute, are you sure? Well, if you say the word success, success, succinct, right? So not a big leap, but you'll hear people often say succinct, as if it's an S instead of 2 C's. So succinct, success, not succinct and success, but maybe it will be success at some point. But it's just very bizarre to me. It's kind of like, I think I commented on this in a previous episode, the use of writ large, when whoever is saying this should be saying at large. So writ large literally means obvious, as in written large, big type. At large means amongst a large population. This is the opinion at large. This is what a lot of people think. The open sign writ large. You can see it from a mile away, right? But more and more now, podcasters are saying, well, everybody thinks this writ large. And you're like, no, at large. So I'm kind of putting the written in the same category. I don't know, but it's kind of bothering me, and that's weird. That's on me. Did you happen to catch the Abyss movie? It was a few years back. It was okay. It was famously profoundly frustrating for the cast. There's a lot of dark stories, but James Cameron really, if I may, dove in with both feet on his submersible, deep water interests. So The Abyss, it was I don't want to do any spoilers, but maybe you didn't see it. It's a good movie. I mean, it's for what it is. It's enjoyable. It's it ages okay. Chris Elliott plays one of the crew members on the ship. Chris Elliott, famously from Late Night with David Letterman. So there is so much chaos in the world, in the movie. So many news headlines and news reporting about missiles and threats of launching missiles and strife on the border and tanks and military, all kinds of stuff. Like today, that part ages well. So the aliens, should I even say where they are? Spoiler alert. So they're at the bottom of this very deep trench in the ocean, and like profoundly deep, and so they are so troubled that they're gonna have like a giant tsunami hit the coasts. And they're gonna use the power that they have over water to send a message to the humans up on the surface. And some of the confluence of events of the modern era are kind of smacking of that, and I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be some aliens making an appearance sometime soon. They have certainly been talking a lot about aliens, UFOs and whatnot, UASs. And I have to say, some of it is global geopolitical strife, a general swing towards the right, I guess, some populist and nationalist movements, preferences expressed through voting or maybe not voting. So this is global, but I know that some of the things have been a result of decisions and actions from some of our leadership, I think, in my opinion. So it is a totally bizarre time, if you ask me. And I think nobody asked me, but you are listening to this audio program. It is very weird. It is very weird to me. It reminds me of, I don't know how old you are, the day after the Jason Robards vehicle, nuclear weapons are deployed, and it's day-to-day life, and then suddenly missiles are launching and mushroom clouds are forming, and it's the absolute bad day that follows. And so this was at a time when there were literally we never did this, but if you looked on if you went to an older school, you might find fire drill instructions. So we had fire drill instructions by the door of our junior high school. So I was in high school, junior. I think it was high school, but junior high. When I think the day after it came out, when I was in junior high school, I think I was in 7th grade, maybe. But when I was in high school, I remember seeing these signs for fire drills. You would do this, right? You'd go to a particular place. For air raids, you would close the drapes and you would get under your desk. And I was like, okay, we haven't tried that. We haven't practiced. But this was a different time. So the 80s were very tense, and there was always it was the Cold War, the Reagan stuff. And were it not for the Chernobyl incident, and granted, what was the guy's name in the Soviet Union before it started collapsing? It was Mikhail Gorbachev. I got that without looking. Mikhail Gorbachev was doing his perestroika, trying to open up the government a little bit, but the Chernobyl incident was a demonstration that they still had a long way to go. So that was sort of the pin that was pulled, and the tent began to collapse. So, but in that time frame, things were a little tense, and I kind of get the sense that we're back in that, the pendulum swinging in that way. So it's just been really weird, and this is a good week for that, I guess. So how about some optimism? I think this is the rest will be pretty much optimistic, I think. Next week, the 17th, next week is Las Vegas Startup Week. But it's not the whole week. It starts on Wednesday the 17th and it ends on Friday. So it's 3 days. So not a week, 3 days. And then they happen to have Tech Alley on Saturday. So I don't consider that part of the event because all of Startup Week is happening in the southwest part of the area. So it's, not quite at the airport, but kind of west of the airport, maybe a little northwest of the airport. Is it northwest or maybe just, anyway, so it's down there. Tech Alley is downtown. So I could see if they had the event spread around different parts of the greater Vegas area. But to me, that's like, let's have it the same week as Tech Alley, and then we can just tack that on at the end, and that gives us a bonus day that we don't have to deal with. So Startup Week Las Vegas, 3 days, and I'm debating how much I want to talk about this. Not today, I'm talking about it right now, but in this week's episode of Cafe Genius Impresarios, which is specifically about the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of the greater Vegas area. Because I always come off as negative, but I think this is a realistic view that Vegas really has no idea what it is trying to accomplish in this next Silicon Valley notion. So to me, if you're going to have, so there is a startup or a tech week or something in the Bay Area. There's one in Los Angeles. So like a similar event, but it's a full week and there are a lot of people that show up and there's a lot going on. And I kind of think this is, hey, we should have a startup week. And last year, if I'm not mistaken, it was sponsored by Techstars. This year, it is not. It is sponsored by the GOED, the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And I think, do I even want to look? I guess I can pull it up. Startup Week Las Vegas. Oh, I don't want to deal with that. That's a different thing. Startup Week Las Vegas. I'll tell you the sponsors. Startup Week Las Vegas, no spaces.com. I'm not even going to link to it because I don't care. But the GOED is the lead organizer. They have photos from last year. Obviously, it hasn't taken place yet. And become a sponsor. Oh, they don't have a list of sponsors. That's weird. Anyway, the problem I have with it is the agenda is not, it's like, hey guys, we could have startups here. And I've been saying this during my podcast and out loud. It's why I come off as so negative. I'm like, why don't we know about more of these things? They talk about one serial entrepreneur, Peter Tomasic. They have a current startup here called TensorWave. It's basically a compute center. He's doing a fireside chat with TensorWave on the 17th. Yeah, the 17th in the afternoon. So the first day. I don't care, but he's the guy, right? We have a thriving startup community, a lot of entrepreneurialism. We got Peter Tomasic. He's on his third startup, and there are some other people. I'm like, okay, there are a couple of things missing from this recipe. I was in Silicon Valley from 1993 to 2001 and 2005 to 2013. Took a little respite. Took a little respite in Phoenix, ironically, right before 9/11. So I was in the Phoenix area for that. Spent 4 years going, oh, the job market is not what it used to be, not what it was on September 10th. The problem is Silicon Valley emerged organically, right? It was 100 years in the making. 100 years ago, Las Vegas was a railroad stop and some silver mining, right? We're a silver state. And some gambling started happening, some hospitality. So, okay, that's nice. Some Italian fraternal organization members came out here for some economic opportunities. So we've got 100 years of history in a different direction than Silicon Valley. So now there's this like, oh no, we have tons of startups here. There's a great culture, and there's a startup scene, and you're like, I've been there. You know, I've worked with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. You're no Jack, you know that one, right? Who was that? It was the guy talking to Dan Quayle. I can't remember the older guy. Vice presidential debate in the primaries, I think it was. We can pull that up. You're no Jack Kennedy. No Jack Kennedy. Lloyd Benston. Benson? No, Benson. I didn't know there was a T in there. Bentsen. Lloyd Benson. So yeah, Senator, you know Jack Kennedy. Good times. So this should be a better Vegas. I've been saying this for a couple of years now. So my thinking on this startup week thing is, first of all, the agenda. It's going to be a lot of rah rah. It's going to be a lot of like, hey guys, look at all this cool stuff happening. And I am not trying to be pessimistic. I'm trying to be realistic. It's like, you know what? Why is it only during 3 days once a year that this is the sort of thing? Now, some of the people that are there, they have full-time jobs working for the Office of Economic Development or the Governor's Office of Economic Development. So they either work locally at UNLV or maybe they work at the LVGEA or wherever, right? They work in venture capital or they work in economic analysis. Who knows? They're all over the place. So why is this not a message we hear all the time? It's just got to be, oh, it's startup week. Okay, we got about 2 days worth of material. Can we stretch to 3? So yeah, I'm a little bit less than plussed about this. If I want to know what's happening with startups, I need to go to an event that lasts for 3 days once a year. That seems to me to be a problem. When I was in Silicon Valley from 1993, there was stuff going on all the time. It was in the press, the local press, the San Jose Mercury News, the San Francisco Chronicle, other smaller papers. The web was becoming a real thing. So when I was working at Apple, it was the first time I used the Mosaic web browser. That was in 1993. So the web was starting to become a thing. So you could start hearing about these things. When I was working at Netscape, Usenet news was still a thing. So you could read about some of this stuff in news. Where is this stuff? So I don't think I should have to go to this event to figure out what's going on in this place. My thinking was, oh, I can go there and I'll sort of describe what I'm working on. But then I'm thinking, I don't want to go there, and because I'm going to be mixed up with a bunch of people who think things are going much better than they are. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but what I am saying is that people should be thinking that all the time, or they should be pursuing that all the time, not saying, oh, this is the 3-day window where I'm going to go try to pretend that I'm advancing a startup cause of some sort. So there's no mention in any press, no announcements about progress. There's nothing other than, if you can find a mention on LinkedIn, probably. I think I saw something on Meetup. I hate meetup.com, but I flip through there once in a while to see what's going on. So I saw a mention. I went to this. Oh, that's right. It's that time of year. So no mention. There's no press. There's no excitement. There's no energy. This should be something that's on the front page. Like, oh, it's startup week. Did you know this is going to be the next Silicon Valley? The Hollywood 2.0 thing is floundering. We're in the midst of a slow summer. So there's all sorts of things about the economic health and well-being and the different directions of the economic diversity plans here and what they're trying to accomplish to make sure that the next time there's a global pandemic, which could be any time at this point, the entire economy doesn't collapse. They're not thinking that if you do lean heavily into a tech economy, gentrification is a real thing. They're not looking at Silicon Valley from 1993. They're looking at it from 2008. So this is the kind of thing I talk about in the Impresario's audio program. So I'm thinking I'm going to skip the week or the 3 days, and I never go to Tech Alley anymore. I have better, more important, and more productive things to attend to. And I'll say like 50% of what I just said on this topic was not written down. So not everything is scripted. This weekend, I need to focus on wrapping up a bunch of Amazon Vine reviews. I like the idea of Amazon Vine, but I have so much crap. And every time, if you get a lot of boxes from Amazon, you're like, oh, I got to get rid of these boxes. When you get Amazon boxes for free, there's really no moderator. There's nothing standing in the way of you going, yeah, I'll take a few more things. So I literally have a box of boxes, and then I have another box of boxes. And after that, I have boxes I haven't even opened yet. That's why I have to catch up on some of these reviews. I have a lot of reviews, and I really need to get dialed into my startup mindset. I talked about this last week on Monday in the Buy Me an Update. I said, I got to get into startup mode, Silicon Valley mindset. I've been spending too much time lamenting or looking around for how to make progress instead of making progress. So thinking about things like startup week, it's kind of a waste, which is frustrating. I really think the second startup scene really needs to be a thing, even if nobody realizes that, because everybody's so, hey, we got startup week. We don't need actual progress. We can just go there and talk about it. And the thing, to jump back onto that topic very briefly, why do I have that? Oh, okay. The thing the thing that I think is there are two huge indicators. There are several, but these are the two big giant ones because I don't want to spend all day on this. I had to do an entire podcast on this, an entire show, Cafe Genius Impresarios. First of all, we keep hearing about the same people. Peter Tomasic, Startup NV, Startup.Vegas, getting into biotech, doing media, doing robotics, manufacturing. Well, wait a minute. You just mentioned one person and two entities that have merged. So Startup.Vegas and Startup NV, those are now the same thing. It's been a couple of years now where there should be like 10 more startups. There's this thing called Zero Labs. They have an innovation launch pad. I applied to be a part of it for one of my projects. Oh, yeah, you weren't accepted this time, but try again next time. They're on cohort 5. One of the questions I asked them before I signed up to apply, I said, hey, how come your website, and you can search for it, Zero Labs, like Zero, Zero Labs, and it's called the Innovation Launch Pad. It's at Blackfire Innovation. I said, you're on cohort 5. It was in July, early July, like 5, 6, 7 or something, like 3 days, 3-day accelerator program or whatever they want to call it. So you've had 4 cohorts and you have a website, but you don't talk about any of the cohorts and other than like testimonial quote, like this was a great experience. Like, are you going to publicize not only the participants, but their progress? So we, like, hey, this is, cohort 1 was like 2 years ago. And look how far they've come. Yeah, that's something we're going to work on. So my comment was like, did you not plan on being successful? Like you have actual employees or people that would work on a website. It's not like you're just one person trying to, get everything done. So to me, that was very off-putting. Like you guys you didn't set yourselves up for success and promoting your success. And that is a general problem here in Vegas. As I said, there's really no press coverage or mention. Like 100% of content creators in the Vegas area are talking about the Strip and downtown Vegas and Summerlin, pools, restaurants, bars, entertainment. Nobody is going, hey, this week we're going to talk about startups in Vegas. Because nobody thinks about Vegas and startups, right? So that's a challenge. It's a challenge to overcome. That's why I find Startup Week and the whole thing about being the next Silicon Valley notion to be so laughable and at the same time troubling. They do not get it here, from what I can tell. This weekend needs to be all about the time, too, right? I can't depend on other people. It's not a startup city, even though they think it is. But I need to spend the time. This is how to make things happen, not hang out and talk about Fantasyland stuff, which is what Startup Week is. So all of their panelists, and if you visit the website, you can see who they are. Yeah, the Wednesday agenda is all day. I think it's the longest day. And I was thinking, I could go there at the Startup Discovery Crawl. It's from 5:30 to 8:30. It's been a couple of years. Okay, it's post-pandemic, so we'll call it 4 years. We'll call it 4 years. So let's just say over the last 2 years, we'll cut that in half. Over 2 years, and people think this is going to be the next Silicon Valley. That's when I started arguing against that. It was 2 years ago. I said, why don't we try to be a better Vegas? So 2 years ago. So this is the next Silicon Valley. And during Startup Week, which is 3 days, they're going to have a Startup Discovery Crawl from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. That seems like it should take 3 days, not 3 hours, if there was so much going on here. And you know what? Attendees will explore local startups and founders while enjoying a variety of discounted treats and beverages from local businesses. What does that even mean? What does that mean? So, and by the way, if you ever listen to the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program, cafegenius.org, if you're curious, and all the other places, I've been saying this for the whole time. Entrepreneurialism is not tech startups. Tech startups can be entrepreneurial, but you can open a restaurant. You can start a food truck. You can open a bookstore. You can start a consulting business. Being an entrepreneur does not mean, you have to write an app. So people have been conflating those things. And I'm like, there's a lot of people in the Vegas area who are doing interesting things. They're just not showing up at Tech Alley. And I've talked to some of these people and they're like, I'm not really in tech. Coffee shop, restaurant, bookstore, retail, consulting services that are not technical. Yeah, but you own your own business. Yeah. So Tech Alley is too, and it just draws the same people all the time, and the newcomers kick the tires, so I stopped going. But yeah, my concern is that the effort is spent trying to promote something that is a small fraction of real life. And so that's where I'm like, I don't really want to spend my time relying on or reaching out to, like, I don't want to go to Tech Alley. I'm sorry, I don't want to go to Startup Week and talk about my startups. I don't think it's worthwhile. So yeah, my initial thinking was like, I'll just go and kind of see what's going on. I just don't think that's valuable. I don't know. I did sign up. I may shoot down there for this little startup crawl. Something tells me it will be disheartening. I think it will be like, oh, okay. I think it was last year they had some sort of an award event, Fusion something. Oh, it was at CES 2025. Fusion 42, I think, had an award ceremony. And it's the same people. Oh, yes, this person's been working on this for 20 years. Still hasn't gotten anywhere. This person's doing this. You're like, okay, the same people that show up at Tech Alley and the same people that they have a meetup and they're at the Startup.Vegas events. They're the same people, the same core group. So I call it the 300, like the graphic novel and the movie, the 300. And it's really not, it's 300, but it's like 150 people or 120 to 150 show up at Tech Alley every month. There's a few extra people here and there. Now, there may be other people doing interesting things. In my theory, they are too busy or not impressed, so they don't go to these little hangouts. So I'm like, should I go to Startup Week and kind of make that determination again? So we'll see. My Magic 8 Ball says try again next year, so we'll see. But I'd rather work on my stuff. For those of you keeping track, to change the subject, my right ankle, which I have spelled angle, my right ankle. I talked about this. I got injured thanks to my grace on stairs on May 28th, 2025. So by August 28th, I was basically walking like normal. I was doing my thing, right? So I'm back to walking. I can walk 3 miles. I can go walk my usual daily. I don't do that every day because I'm like, okay, I'll just take it easy. I'll do the half track. So I do the 1.6 miles almost every day. I'll do the 3 mile. I think it's like 2.7 to 3, somewhere, depending on exactly how I do the route. A little flexibility. But anyway, so I'm able to function. I don't feel like I'm going to fall over. I don't need a cane, which I did for a while. It always feels a little bit weird, but in fairness, I've been testing out some hiking shoes because it's been in a holding pattern. I haven't really been improving. It kind of feels like I hit my right, like near my ankle, my shin, the bottom part of my shin. It feels like I hit it on a table or something. If you've ever done that, like, oh, and then it feels like a bruise or like a blunt force trauma. I'm like, I wish this could go away. And I think like I can stand on my toes. Yeah. So that's not a problem. But it just feels like I hit my leg on something. So I've been trying out part of my Amazon Vine collection of things to review. I wanted to break in these shoes. So first of all, they're sized exactly where, there's no toe room. So they run small by a half a size generally, basically. So that's part of my review is like, there is no slack. Normally Amazon would recommend a 10 to me for most things, but these have no track record, so they had no recommendation. So I'm like, okay, I'll get a 10. Should have been a 10 and a half. I don't think they had half sizes. Anyway, I don't know if hiking boots or these are kind of light duty. They're not like big, heavy hiking boots. They're more like cross trainers with a little extra, like hiking eyelet, little hooks and stuff for lacing. So they felt a little weird, first of all, because they're so tight, but they're really stiff. And breaking them in, I've been doing the 1.6-ish loop every day. So that's been good. That's been good for me. But they were so stiff and after a week they have loosened up significantly, so that's good. But they were really making my feet and legs really, really, really tired. And I've not experienced this. And it makes me feel, I remember, I don't know if you caught Joe Biden after he injured I can't remember which, he broke or something with his foot or ankle or heel or something with his bike accident. And so he didn't wear the boot. And not that I was keeping track of Joe Biden, but they made a big thing of this after that injury, and he didn't properly go through a recovery process. He ended up having a shuffle because like it's mildly painful or whatever. So I'm like, oh my God, if I go for this hike, I get home, I take off these boots, these hiking cross trainers, and I feel like I got to shuffle around because I'm like, oh my God, my feet are so tired. My ankle is tired. And then my knee has been killing me because I was compensating for 3 months, which made my knee super stiff. And it's not even my knee so much as my quadricep. Okay, I'm going to be done complaining any second now. But it's been an interesting thing because I'm like, I feel as though I'm improving. So again, if you've been listening to various mentions of this over the last few months, you know, I'm moving around, but every time I catch myself like shuffling, like, and again, it feels like I hit my right ankle on a table or something, and my left quadricep is like literally, I can't even bend my leg correctly because it's so tight. So because it's so tight, when I'm moving, it puts a lot of stress on the muscles, which is pulling the joint in a weird way. So it's not like I have like a torn ACL or something. It's literally that when I'm moving my knee and applying force to it, it's pulling my joint because the muscles will not relax. And I have one of those Theragun things, and it's kind of killing me a little bit. So in breaking in these cross trainer boot things, it's really emphasizing the fact that I need to get my left leg to kind of relax. And I'm not sure what else I can do besides, you know, the Theragun and some mild stretching and walking and, you know, using it, moving around. Then my right ankle needs to not be bruised, I guess. That's what it feels like. So I'm kind of, yeah, it doesn't pop. So I don't know. So generally speaking, I'm ambulatory, which is good. Every once in a while, I'm like, oh, I'm shuffling. That's not good. Every day I'm shuffling. No, none of that. So I need to fix that. So I think that's where we can end it. I can leave it here because there's plenty of stuff to do, and you have been quite generous with your time listening to this for, my clock says about 53 minutes. When I truncate silence, it'll be probably 50-ish. So that's pretty nice of you. So until next time, stay safe out there because it is weird, to be sure. And again, thanks for listening. Hey, if you want to share this with anybody, if you want to tell them, not just the Coffee Solo program, but any of my various programs, I'm trying to increase the amount of cross-linking. So as I modify and improve the various web properties, they will all be intermingled and stuff. The foundation I keep separate because that's not me so much as the foundation. So I'm not using that as a vehicle to promote myself so much as me promoting it. But Cafe Genius, Coffee Solo, Quaggling Sand, Buy Me an Update, FFS Talk, and coming soon, Hugo Floss, which will start out with video, which I've been putting off because I gotta kind of reorganize my little studio here to account for video. So that's all I gotta say. Thanks. Be good. Hopefully 9/11 will not reoccur, but interesting times. Okay, that's all I have to say. Take care. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.